Hello everybody. So today we're going to be talking about formation rejoins and how to deal with overshoots along with how to deal with flying in formation. So the first thing we're going to show is how to deal with an overshoot. So right now I am closing a little bit fast on my lead, and I can see this by how quickly he's changing in relative to where he is. So he's moving pretty quickly, and I'm probably going to overshoot here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bank to the outside because my intention is to rejoin right. I'm going to pull the throttle back, and then I'm just going to keep him in sight. I'm not going to climb above him. I'm going to let my speed drop down, and then I'm going to slowly drift back over to the right. So now I've got a whole lot better closure rate on my lead. I'm not closing nearly as fast, and I'm not so far spread out, so now I'm just going to inch my way forward very slowly. Now we've only got like a 5, maybe 10 knot closure, so this is a lot more easier to handle than our previous 50 knot closure. So basically what we did with that S-turn was that we added distance, and we used the G to be able to bleed off some of that excess speed and bring ourselves in line with the aircraft. And what we also prevented was that we don't want to ever go belly up to our aircraft like this, because if we do, we completely lose sight. We don't know what our lead is doing. We don't know where he is, and it can cause problems with us possibly colliding with the aircraft, or possibly have us not realize that he's gone up, he's gone down, or he's possibly turned away while we're also turning away, adding a lot of distance. So the idea is to always keep the lead aircraft in sight and to never put your belly up to an aircraft that you're rejoining. Alright, so what we're also going to talk about is the bearing line. So I'm going to rejoin on bearing line here, and what that is that I'm going to take that tip of the Sidewinder and I'm going to put it straight to his helmet, and I'm going to just sit here, and this is the bearing line. And what I'm going to do is I can move further away on this line, and I'm still technically in formation. I'm just doing it at a much greater distance than if I'm flying parade, which is when we get a lot closer on that bearing line. And what we can do is we can essentially join up on this line, and then we can essentially slowly work our way into the aircraft. That way we're in a good constant position. I'm a little behind right now. The Sidewinder head has drifted a little forward. And what we can do is we can use this bearing line to just bring ourselves right into the lead aircraft very slowly and make certain we stay in position. Still a little behind. Tap to burner. Give us a quick boost up in front. There we go. See, we're kind of just quickly sliding in here in this one position, and just keep coming in, coming up, so just come down a little bit. And there we go. So we just essentially walked the bearing line right up to the aircraft, and now we're pretty much in a parade formation. Alright, so now we're going to be rejoining our lead who's currently in the left-hand turn. So right now we're on the inside of the turn, doing at least 470, and we're going to do the same overshoot procedure. However, we're going to do it in a different way. So right now, he's going about 430 knots, I'm going 460. Now I could bleed some of the speed off, but we're not going to be able to bleed all of it off. So what I'm going to do is, and this would be for a lot higher closure speed than I am right now, I'm going to switch to the outside, allow my speed to bleed off somewhat, and then because the outside requires more airspeed than the inside turn, I'll be able to work my way back to the inside as I bleed the speed off, and as I work my way inside, I will also gain distance. So I can essentially use the circle to my advantage and be able to close the distance while also still keeping control of my airspeed and the closure rate to my lead as I do this. So bled some of that excess speed off by going to the outside. Doing pretty good. We're about 10 knots closure rate. Kick a rudder. There we go. Tad. There we go. Joined in a turn, doing about 429. Dancer, what's your speed on your HUD right now?
429.
Yeah. So we're holding the inside turn just a little bit, and we're below our lead, and we kept sight during the whole possibility of an overshoot, and that way we did not go belly up, as we should never go belly up to an aircraft we're rejoining. Alright, so let's roll out, and then I'm going to show how to maneuver in a formation. Alright, so when you're flying in formation, it can be pretty easy to want to over exaggerate your movements so that you don't move so much. However, the one thing you really don't want to do is pull or push on the stick too much. So right now I'm very lightly tapping my stick just in order to stay in one place, but I'm not really pulling or pushing on the stick too much. And if you look at this little caret at the bottom of my HUD, you'll notice that my rolls are at most about 2 degrees. I'm not really rolling extremes, and my limit I'm really setting on myself is to not really roll past 10 degrees while I'm in formation, so that I don't start building up momentum in one direction, as getting momentum started is easy, getting it to stop takes almost twice as long. So we'll see here when I do a wing swap, so I'm going to bank over here to about almost 10 degrees. And before I even get there, I'm going to reverse it. And I almost doubled my roll rate just in order to stop it. Sorry, I doubled my roll in order to almost stop it because of how long it takes to stop the aircraft. It takes almost as long, if not slightly longer, to stop the aircraft once you get it moving, because the aircraft has mass and it has momentum, and once you get it going, it wants to keep going in that direction. So if you limit your bank when you're coming in, it'll help keep control slightly rather than going 30 degrees, then another 35, and you see as to how exaggerated my movements have become, to the point where once I got beyond 10 degrees and 20, my nose started to dip because the aircraft was losing lift on the wings and causing my nose to dip, which would then cause me to have to pull up, which then would cause me to climb up. Then I'm going to push down, which is going to make me climb down, and essentially I'm just reacting to all of my inputs. So if you limit your roll in a lot of your rejoins, you'll be able to maneuver the aircraft really slowly. And this is stuff that does take time, and the more you practice, the more you'll be able to just like quickly jab it to 30 degrees to get it over and then snap back. But to start out, it really helps taking this nice and slow, having a lot of patience with it. It will take a lot of focus and a lot of practice to get this at first, but once you get it down, you will be able to do this without having to focus too much on what your movements are. You can really just focus on the lead aircraft in front of you and just be able to maneuver the airplane, and you know how to do it. You can really put a lot of your focus into the lead aircraft without having to focus so much on what you're doing with your control inputs. Anywho, I hope this helps with your formation rejoins, and I will see you in the next video.